Okay, so continuing on with the story, as I said, my mom and dad wouldn't see me or talk to me. My mom would talk to me on the phone, but she wouldn't let me speak, and she would just be contemptuous, act contemptuously and hatefully. And even to this day, I want to talk to my mom and dad and see them, but they won't do it. So, this is at the beginning of when I first went to Kauai, and so at the time, as I said, during high school, and I remember my shot was messed up, and I know it's because of the shoot away machine. If it wasn't for the shoot, and this is what I wanted to get across to my mom. My mom was saying that my dad. She was saying, no, your dad's not going to talk to you. The reason is because you were such an a-hole in high school and middle school, and you treated him like crap, and that wasn't the case. Yes, it was a difficult time, but I know she wants to think there was something wrong with me, but I know for a fact that if it wasn't for the shoot away machine, none of that would have happened. So there wasn't necessarily something wrong with me. It was a shoot away machine. And I remember in high school, like I came in from shooting one day and I only shot for like 15 minutes because probably I knew that me picking the ball off the rack and shooting, like subconsciously, I knew that it wasn't helping me, and it wasn't doing me right. So like I probably subconsciously knew just shoot for 15 minutes. But I went inside and my dad was like, you only shot for 15 minutes? The best players shoot 500 shots a day. You need to go out there and shoot 500 shots a day if you want to be the best. So I went back out and I'm picking the ball off the rack and I'm still shooting on the rack. And I know that was messing up my shot. And I can go into details, and I'm not going to because I don't want to make good shooters think. But I know the things that great shooters do and how they move into shots. And it's all about how you move into shots. And picking the ball off a rack, I couldn't move into shots the way that great shooters do. And I couldn't put my feet the way that great shooters do. Now, my dad tried to manipulate my feet and artificially make me shoot sideways. But he didn't realize the reason why I shot sideways is how I moved into shots. And picking the ball off a rack, I couldn't do that. And basically, I know the rack messed me up. And I know that if it wasn't for the shoot away rack, the shoot away machine, none of that would have happened. Now, people might think that I'm talking about the gun. When I say the machine, it's the gun. No, it rolls the ball down a rack. You pick the ball off a rack and shoot it, and that's what messed it up. Now, but so I'm in Kauai at this point, and I want to talk to my mom and dad, and I want to explain to them about the shoot away machine. But my mom says, "No talking about the past. This is why you're schizophrenic. Your grandpa told you not to talk about the past. This is why you're schizophrenic, because you're stuck in the past." And I'm like, Mom, I'm not schizophrenic. I'm still not. I know I'm not. I don't have any mental illness. I wanted to explain to her because she's saying that my dad's not going to talk to me because he's mad about how I acted. And another thing that my mom said was, she was like, and plus your dad's embarrassed and ashamed that he has a schizophrenic son. And he put all that work into you with the basketball, and he did all that stuff for you with basketball. And then you just fell apart and all that, and then you quit, and you ended up being terrible, and he just feels like he wasted his time with you. That's what my mom was telling me on the phone, and I'm not making it up. And she talks way worse than what I'm conveying right now. It's like way more hurtful because she cusses and she puts me down and she says evil. Like I can't even repeat it because I'm not that way, But so she's saying all this stuff to me, and I'm like, it's really bizarre, and it's really astounding the way that she's talking to me. And this is like 2013 when I'm on Kauai. So, and I'm telling her, Mom, can I talk to Dad? I want to talk to Dad because I know that she's just losing her freaking mind and she can't think rationally. And I want to explain to my dad about the shoot away machine. I figured out what happened. I want to move on. And I feel like I discovered the quadrant model, the theory of everything. And I'm like, and I would like to get this stuff going. So I also tell my Mom, can I come back to Los Angeles and please, I want to go to go to get a master's degree, because I figure if I go to master's degree, I can continue to study for quadrant model and get a master's degree at the same time. And my mom's like, no, you can't come back and get a master's degree. You're schizophrenic. And she was saying, you're going to have to be on welfare for the rest of your life. You're never going to be able to work. You're never going to be able to do anything because you're schizophrenic. You don't realize that. You're going to be on medicine for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to do anything. She really believed I had schizophrenia, but I didn't. So I'm like, Mom, I don't have schizophrenia. She's like, yes, you do. And so she's like, you need, she said, if anything, you're going to be working at McDonald's for the rest of your life, and you're probably not even going to be able to do that. So I'm like, Mom, please just listen to me. But she wouldn't listen to me. And she's saying that. And I try to tell her, You know, because the way that I see it is she's so traumatized about the past. And the ironic thing is she's saying, Ryan, get over the past. Stop talking about the past. You're stuck in the past. That's why you're schizophrenic. But really, the problem is she was stuck in the past, because I'm the one who wants to reconcile and move on. And she's the one who's saying, no, we're never going to talk to you because we're mad about the past still. And I'm trying to tell her, listen, your understanding of the past is inaccurate. What happened in the past was because of the shoot away machine. That's what happened. And it wasn't because I had something wrong with me. She thinks it's because she wants to believe it was because I was mentally ill. And I think the reason why she wants to believe that is because my dad and her physically abused me at that time. And I think that she's traumatized by that, because that's not the way that she is. She never hit me my whole life. There was never any problems my whole life. And they did some cruel things to me. And I think that the only way that they can rationalize it and justify it and feel okay about themselves is if they say, well, he was mentally ill. He was a deficient human being, and that's why we had to abuse him. But for them to admit that I wasn't deficient, that it might have been their fault with the shoot away machine, that it was a problem with that. And I don't necessarily want to put them down. I understand that they had the best intentions to get the shoot away machine, but that is what screwed it up. And I want them to understand that. And then I want to move on from that and just be like, okay, so now we can move on and we can try to establish a more respectful, harmonious relationship in the future, and acknowledge that, bad things happened in the past, and we don't have to deny it or not talk about it. We acknowledge that it happened, and now we move on and try to be compassionate, better people in the future. But instead of that, my mom is like, you're a schizophrenic loser, bitch. That's the way she's talking to me. So at this point, I'm trying to, and then I tell my mom, I want to get videos of when I was younger, because I want to, study how I shot, and I want to study, and I want to also study the swag flow. But then she's like, you see, you're schizophrenic. You're stuck in the past. Get over basketball, you loser. And so, like, she's just completely dismissing me, completely putting me down, threw me to the side. And then she would just hang up on me. Usually what she does is I would try to talk to her for a second. She would just be like, no, you're a loser. You're stupid. You're schizophrenic. You're schizophrenic. Bye. And she hang up, right? So, and I wasn't schizophrenic. And so then kind of to prove that, at that time, I got a job, assistant coach on a basketball for the Kapaa high school team over there. And I was playing basketball on a team, and I had a game where I scored 40 points in the men's league in Kauai. So how could I be schizophrenic and score 40 points in the game? And also at that time, my shot was still messed up. I hadn't figured out, because I didn't even have my basketball videos in Kauai. I had them still in my grandma's house in Los Angeles. So I know that I was still shooting wrong. And it took me all the way to like 2019 to really start studying the videos and start figuring out how I would move into shots and how I would put my feet and stuff when I was younger. And all those things. And I still would like more videos, but that was when I was playing with Compton College and I really started playing well. So that's what's going on at this point in Kauai. My mom is basically, I was cast aside by my family. So I'll just give like another example of what occurred then was like, my grandpa wanted me to get a job. So I was, one of my teammates that I was playing with on the men's league basketball team over there, he had me help him paint houses. And one day he didn't need me. This was, after the game where I scored 40 points, and he didn't need me because of whatever reason. And I went to my grandpa's house. And my grandpa was like, you should be working right now. Or why aren't you working? Like, you're trying to skip work and stuff. And you want to stay independent on your parents. And I was like, no, I didn't have work today. And then my grandpa's yelling at me, and I started to tell him, Grandpa, I'm really upset at what you're doing, because what I felt like he was doing was he was telling my parents to, he was encouraging them to throw me to the side and make me independent. And I was like, dude, I discovered the quadrant model. I discovered theory of everything. I don't need independence. I need help. I need assistance. I need support. But my grandpa was like, his whole thing was, he didn't believe the quadrant model. He thought it was bogus, and he was trying to make me independent. And he thought that I was really just, he said, the only reason why you made that theory up is so that you could try to stay independent on your parents. He thought that I had a fragile ego and I just wanted to stay independent on my parents. And he saw it as his duty to save me and try to force me to work. So I'm like, dude, you're really screwing things up, because And, I felt that my mom misinterpreted what he was doing, and she was like, yeah, so I need to make him independent. So she started being extremely emotionally cold and distant and hurtful because she didn't realize that independent, that's not what my grandpa was talking about. My grandpa even said, yeah, she's immature. She has predator prey software, the way she talks to you. And she said, and my grandpa was like, she did the same thing to Amos, who's his son. And she's a bad, she's just a very immature person. And he didn't have much respect for my mom. And my mom didn't know that, though. My mom thought she was completely doing exactly what my grandpa thought she should be doing. Yeah, make him independent. Be mean to him. Be hurtful, because she didn't understand. So that's what's going on at this point. And then, so I get in an argument with my grandpa, and my grandpa starts yelling at me in my face. So I throw spaghetti at him. And then I get up, and my grandpa's yelling in my face. And I push him to get out of the house. And then my grandpa goes and he calls the police. He tries to get me in jail. So then the police come, and then I they put me in jail for a little bit, but they ended up dropping the charges. They were going to put me in jail for harassment, family harassment or something like that. But then they ended up dropping the charges. But I remember my grandma bailed me out. My grandpa didn't want to bail me out, but my grandma was like, screw this. And she came, this is my dad's mom, and she bailed me out. And then, but my mom was like, she was on the phone. She was like, don't bail him out. I want him to be raped. I want him to learn a lesson. I want him to be raped in prison. See, so she thought that, I'm making him independent and I'm throwing him to the side, and we have to force him to get a job, and we have to be mean to him. And my grandpa even was like, dude, your mom is like, he had no respect for my mom. But at the same time, he was doing the same type of thing. So I don't, he was like I'm saying, he tried to help, but they call it like when a therapist tries to help but makes things worse, like atriotic or something. I forget the word for it, but he made things worse. So, there's chaos going on at this point. And then also at this point, as I discussed, started going INTP Central, and I started to share all the theories that I had that were anti-religious and kind of leftist, anti-white. And part of that was I thought that my grandpa was a white supremacist at this point, and I was trying to fight against him. And because, my grandpa had said, like, the Jews were parasites in Germany, and I thought, and I thought that my uncle was a white supremacist too, because he would kind of say the same type of stuff. So, ironically, I was being like very leftist and anti-white, right? So I was sharing my theories on INTP Central, basically saying that how I thought that Christianity was just kind of a trick to destroy the Roman Empire and save the Jews. And I'm going to get to more to that in the next lecture. But my point is, though, at this point, there's just chaos going on. My mom's not listening to me. She throws me to the side. I'm stuck in Kauai. My grandpa's against me. The only person who was with me was my grandma. She was the only one who was kind of on my side. But everyone else, my uncle was making fun of me. He's like, yeah, your dad, and my uncle's telling me, your dad's an asshole. He's a bully. He bullied me my whole life, and he's a jerk, and I hate that guy, and your mom and dad are stupid. And he's telling me how my mom called him gay, and how my mom was a complete bitch to him, and how much he hates my mom. And he's saying, like, yeah, and they did everything for you, and they spoiled you, and they thought you were gonna play in the NBA, and then it didn't work out, and now look at them, they throw you to the side. They never really cared about you. And my uncle's like really loving this, because my uncle hates my mom and dad so much. Now he's seeing that my mom and dad threw me to the side, and he's like, yeah, things didn't work out with you. Good. Fuck your mom and dad. They're pieces of shit. So that's the way my uncle is. And I'm just stuck in this. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, I discovered the theory of everything. Things can be very good right now. You guys can be supporting me. Things could be positive. But instead, this is turning into hell, and it's turning into a nightmare. And that's what ended up happening. So I'll continue with this.